Well, hi, everybody, for another one of our virtual events. We are excited because we're doing the last workshop of our Workforce Solutions of Central Texas theme series. And we hope that you guys have been really enjoying it. I'm Cindy Oser. We have Lee Greenthaner with us today, and we have our guest speaker, Ann Scotti. She is going to be talking today about communication. So, when you've got that job, you got to learn how to communicate with your coworkers. Before we get started, I put in the comment section our upcoming library events. So if you want to register for an event or if you want to know what's happening next week, it's all there. So we are going to get started and welcome. This is Ann Scotti, and take it away, Ann.
Oh, thank you, Cindy, for the introduction. So yes, I'm Ann Scotti. I'm with Workforce Solutions of Central Texas, and I am a SOAR. Our team is called SOAR, and that's Student Occupational Awareness and Recognition Program. And basically what we do is we talk to middle school kids, high school kids, and right up to college, do career fairs, virtual career fairs, help everybody with job readiness skills, and most importantly, soft skills. Okay, so and with that said, what I'm going to go over today is one of the most important soft skills I feel that's out there is communication and being an effective communicator. And also, the thing that I have found about soft skills lately is the push for soft skills. Okay, you have to go out there with all of your hard knowledge and you have to incorporate these soft skills to make yourself valuable, to make yourself stand out. And just really, it's going to benefit you in your professional life, your personal life, and in life in general. So this is really good stuff, really valuable stuff, and I'm happy to be here to talk to you a little more about it. Okay, so I'm gonna share. Okay, so are we good, Cindy? Okay, this first screen is the game of telephone. So I don't know if everybody, when you were little, that you played the game of telephone. But basically, this demonstration is used for the sole purpose that when we put out a message from the first person and you circle all the way to the last person, most likely that message will not be the same. Okay, and so we're going to talk a little bit about why that message is not the same from the first person to the last person. So when we talk about communication, we have different conversational styles. So each individual has their own distinct style of communication, and there are 7 different major conversational styles. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with these different styles based upon the different people that you meet in life. So we have the dominant conversational style, we have the interruptive, we have the manipulative, we have the polite, the creative, the sarcastic, and the passive. And if you look at these different conversational styles as well, they can also go with, perhaps what part of the United States you're from, what state you're from, or, or another country. They might have one of these particular conversational styles just based off of their, where they physically were from or located. Sometimes if you look at like number 2, the interruptive, I'm sure that we've met people in life that we're trying to talk and they interrupt us, right? And when they do that, a couple of things are happening. Number 1, there isn't going to be effective communication, okay? Because that person that is interrupting is first, not listening. And then second, they're pretty much telling you, hey, you know, what I'm saying is more important than what you're saying. And they're also thinking more about interrupting. So they're not listening perhaps to what you just said, because they are only putting out what they're thinking. So these are the different conversational styles, which also could change how we effectively communicate with each other. And then we have conceptual background of elements, and there's six different elements that we'll go over. So first we have the decision. So we're going to decide to speak and choose what thoughts the individual would like to put forth in the conversation. So first your brain is thinking what you're going to say, right? And then after that, it's the encoding process. And this is the process in which the speaker attempts to translate his or her thoughts and perceptions into words. And then we have the sending. We have the articulation of the words the individual would like to convey. And then next is the channel. So basically how we're going to send this information. And then the fifth would be decoding. And this is the process in which the listener attempts to understand and interpret what the speaker has encoded in his or her message. And then last, we have the internal response, right? So how we respond to the message that's being communicated to us. The receiver contemplates the message and they have their internal response. So, you know, how they react to you. Are they angry? Are they upset? You know, are they relieved? Or basically, are they uninterested, right, in what you had to say? And then there's factors that are also going to affect, other factors that will affect our communication process. There's noise, and noise is going to be the, it could be anything. Noise can be, you know, noise from the outside. Noise could just be even like clutter in your own head. It could be a lot of different things that actually distract us and limit our ability to convey that message effectively. We also have personality differences, right? So this is one of the factors that when we're playing the game of telephone, or we're trying to figure out why that message initially from the first person to the last person doesn't come out effectively, well, we all have different personalities, right? Everybody's different. So when we're actually taking in that message, our beliefs and our attitudes and our personalities, you know, sometimes are going to distort that message, and that is why it will not be what initially was put out. We're interpreted it different because of our unique personalities. Also, sometimes there's lack of skills. The sender lacks sufficient skills when they're encoding, right? They can't put their thoughts into words. We hear that all the time, right? People say that they can't put their thoughts into words, and it's very true. And then, of course, the external factors, which I went over before, it's any type of noise background, you know, your connection to effectively communicate, especially today, right? We're doing virtuals and communicating over the internet. So we can have issues with that. We can have speech impediments. You know, anything that's distracting is going to affect our ability to effectively communicate. And this is also a big one, your receiver's past experiences. So they're going to decode your message that they're trying to convey based upon their past experiences, right? So if you gave the same message to one person, or you have two people, it might be different to each person because of their own unique past experiences. They are going to interpret your message differently. And now we also go to nonverbal communication, right? So we don't only communicate through our words and through our you know, verbally through our mouth, we also can communicate nonverbally. So nonverbal communication is all aspects of communication other than words themselves, and it includes how we utter words, features of environments that affect interactions and that influence personal images and interaction patterns. And then we have 3 types of nonverbal communication. And this would be kinesics, proxemics, and paralanguage. Also, when we're looking at our communication, it's how we present ourselves, right? How our posture is. So if we're slumped down and, we're feeling low and tired or fatigued, versus if we have an upright posture, that's going to reflect that we're open to communication, that we have confidence, and we have a lot of energy, right? So the way people walk, that also communicates how they feel. So when people say like they shuffle along slowly, with their hands in their pockets or maybe their heads down, you know that one, they're not going to communicate effectively, and two, maybe there's something going on or they're not happy, versus someone else might be, you can tell just in their walk that they're happy and energized. And therefore, the effective communication is going to take place when you are, confident in yourself and have that upright posture. I mean, think about it. It's almost like charisma. You're attracting people to you. Therefore, they're going to want to talk and communicate. But if you're on the other side of that, people might not be open to actually even have a conversation. And then you have gestures. So many people communicate with gestures and various body movements. And this allows the person to show different feelings. So you can be angry and you can be sad or sincere. And then touching also is a common form of body language, right? We use this to express our affection. We use this to calm people down or to interrupt. We use handshakes, right, to seal a deal. We use hugs, right? Pats on the back, kissing. These are all forms of body language and how we can communicate. And then also a big one, right, is our facial expressions. And you can just look at someone usually and tell like how they feel, right? So our face is our most expressive part of our body. And we do this every day. We show how we feel. We send emojis, right? When we text, lots of that's a facial expression, and that's how we communicate. So a number one facial expression also is good eye contact. So when you're going for, let's just say you're going for a job interview and you're in that interview and you're talking face to face, you want to make sure you're looking at that person and you're making direct eye contact, because that shows that and they're looking back at you, right? So if they're looking at you, it shows they're really listening to what you have to say. And if you're looking at them, that's going to give you that effective communication. And it's also going to show that you're confident and you can do well in the interview. But if you're, looking down or fiddling with your thumbs or something like that, the communication is really not going to be effective. Also, I guess in this particular slide, our eyes, right? Our eyes can show how we feel. Our eyes can show, you look at somebody and you love them, right? Or a romantic notion, or your eyes, a stern look can show that you might be angry at someone. And then proxemics is going to be the distance between you and that other person, and how that interaction or your communication is going to be effective or not effective. So how it works is, sometimes are we a little too close, right? You ever hear somebody say like, oh, they were right up in my face, talking to me, or they invaded my personal space. So we do not want to be too close when we communicate. And then also, we definitely don't want to be too far. So if we're far away, that's going to affect it and not make it, not make the communication or distort our communication, I should say. And then what's really important here too is paralanguage. Now, paralanguage is huge in terms of communication, especially when it comes to going out there in the work field and getting that particular job. and a lot of people even take extra courses to reflect their tone of voice and how they communicate, because that encompasses how you are going to, attract people to you. And I can't think of any profession, that would not benefit from an effective communicator. There is none out there, right? We look at Central Texas alone. I did a little research, and companies in Central Texas, the number one thing that they were looking for were people that could communicate, right? And they also, one of the jobs that they posted was customer service. So we need to be able to communicate effectively when we're dealing with customers, right? We need to show them empathy when there's something wrong. And we also need to be able to make sure that our communication is effective so we can solve problems. And especially in the workplace, you also need to be able to deal with many different people, many different personalities, keyword personalities that's going to affect all of the communication. But the good thing about this is it is something that we can work on every day. You can always work on being a more effective communicator. And one of the courses out there that a lot of professionals go out there and take is to learn how to pitch their voice, right? How to articulate better, their tempo, their volume, their rhythm. So important to make the communication more effective. And also, with that said, we also know that, let's take tempo, the speed at which words are spoken, right? We know sometimes in different languages, let's just take Spanish, for instance. If you ever spoke with somebody and they're speaking Spanish to you, it is very fast. The tempo is fast. So sometimes, even that is different because you may be used to more of a slower paced language. So they're talking really, really, really fast, and the communication might not be there. As well as, your how you talk, how soft you talk, how loud you talk. That can even be where we're from, right? So we're in Texas. A lot of people in Texas, they talk soft, slow, right? Polite. And then you go to the East Coast, they talk fast, they're loud. So all of these factors are part of, communication and trying to be the best and most effective communicator possible. Then you also had the importance of nonverbal communication. And then there was a study conducted many years ago, but it's still true today. If you look at the bottom, 55% is body language. Okay, so we can communicate with body language, followed by paralanguage, which I just went over, 38%, and only 7% is the words that we speak. So now we're going to go into listening, attending, and responding. So as I said earlier, the key to being an effective communicator is to know how to listen, right? We have to be able to listen because we can hear the words, but are we really listening and understanding in order to make it effective? And that goes so far. Let's just say we are in a sales job and we have to sell somebody that, blue, let's just say we're going to sell someone that blue car, right? And you sell them the red car. I know that sounds a little bit like obvious, but you weren't listening to the customer. So what did you just do? You just could have messed up that sale because you were not listening. So again, listening is more than just hearing. Okay, we all can hear, but are we really listening? Are we really understanding? Okay, again, what I went over earlier, We definitely want to make good eye contact versus no eye contact. We also want to avoid word prejudice, okay? I did this earlier in the fall with Central Texas College, and I just added this screen so everybody can see what exactly word prejudice is. And we want to avoid that when we are listening and communicating. Okay, this is really key as well. So when you are talking and you are trying to think of the next words or the next piece of information that you want to communicate, a lot of times you have people say, right? Between their translation of thought. Oh, Count how many times when you're out there, you hear them say, I do that. And the reason why I do that is because I have to catch myself. Because when my brain is thinking and transitioning to the next thought, sometimes I do that too. The best thing that you want to do to make your communication more effective is you want to make that pause between your next thoughts. People will not notice the pause, but they will notice the ums and the ohs and the ahas. So pay close attention to that when you are communicating. You definitely want to paraphrase for understanding too, of what was being said to you. And what you want to do is you want to ask a question to improve the clarity of the statement. So if somebody, said something to you, you can just nicely say, so what you were saying is dun 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 dun. And that's going to improve the understanding of the message. And I also talked about earlier, we want to make sure that we show empathy, right? And we want to share feelings and empathy. And that goes great with a customer service job. When you're trying to communicate with that customer and maybe they're not very happy, but you are going to show empathy to them. And you are going to do that, and that's going to open the lines of communication once you can reflect that and share your feelings. The next thing is just this was a research for communication with college students, and they had a directly trained group 1 and incidentally trained group 2. And so the most important thing about the findings on this is what I said earlier, that the findings indicated that listening skills could be improved by training. Okay, so that is the good thing. And then of course, what does it mean for us? Well, we can improve our listening skills. We can lead to better communication skills. We'll be better listeners to our friends and our family. We'll be better employees. We'll be better students, and we'll be better in many areas of our life. So the key is to, I'm going to read this quote for y'all. The key to being an outstanding communicator is not so much the words of wisdom that come out of your mouth, but how well you listen to others of the wisdom that come out. Well, you listen to the words of wisdom that come out of the mouth of others. So that quote sums up everything that I've tried to show you in this presentation. Now this right here, I'm just going to go a little bit through what I want to talk about as far as enhancing communication skills. So we have the negative and we have the positive, right? So when you speak with precision and directness, select words that accurately describe your thoughts and feelings. How are you today? ... I'm okay. You want to enhance your vocabulary, right? So a small vocabulary is going to decrease the ability to express yourself, whereas a greater number of words to choose from provides you with greater flexibility to say what you want to say. And you want to sound more professional, right? In your job, you want to sound classy. You want to sound educated. Very, very important when you're going for, whether that's your first job or you're in your career field of choice. These are really helpful. This is be really helpful for you to in your career and to be as successful in it. You want to use language appropriate for your listening audience. Remember too, guys, when you are communicating, you have to remember your setting and your audience. And what I mean by that is, if we are home and we are in our home with our family, TV's going on, sometimes it's like just chaotic, but we might communicate differently because of the setting that we're in and the audience. And then let's take the setting of our school. If we're in our school, our setting is going to be the teachers, right? Administration, other students, and that's our audience, and our setting is going to be the school, and we are going to communicate differently there than we would be at home. So I want you to be mindful of that. Access which words and expressions and gestures are most conducive to getting your point across. Okay, you want to attack the issue. You don't want to attack people, right? So just the issue, not the people. So we want to avoid character assassination. Attacking people clouds the issue and makes it harder, and if not impossible, to resolve issues. So it is not good for any type of effective argument, right? Because people are going to shut down, or they're not going to want to fix the problem. They're going to want you to go away. So you definitely want to make sure that you are mindful of attacking the issue and not ever the person, okay? And then this is a good one too. Avoid putting others on the defense, right? So placing the responsibility of understanding on yourself rather than blaming others, and that minimizes the defensiveness, right? So you want to say, I perceive ... You don't ever want to, attack or blame others. And again, the most effective communication involves talking with someone face to face. So we know sometimes our channels of communication, right? I know, you could be texting somebody and they might interpret that text or even email differently than how you meant to put that out. And sometimes that's going to change the communication, right? We're not going to get the message correct. So if we have any type of issues with that, the best way is to say, hey, come see me, let's talk in person. And you're just going to have better communication that way. And the message should definitely be more correct when you're one-on-one than sometimes it's going to get misconstrued via text or email. Avoid information overload. And I just put a little funny on the bottom of this, like 65 slides on communication, because people can only take in, as certain amount of information at one time. So you definitely want to make sure that it's like in little bits of pieces, because when it's this big, drawn out, even presentation, I know you could say, quote unquote, death by PowerPoint, you lose people. So make sure when you need to get something out there and effectively communicate it, that you present it in such a way that people are going to listen and they're going to retain the information that you are trying to get through. And then you want to validate your assumptions. So confirm what you think to be true with those that have given you this impression. And then also you definitely want to resolve problems when they arise. So this is very effective in the workplace. If you feel that there's a misunderstanding, there probably might be, right? You want to try to deal with the issue as they surface by talking it out with those involved. So we're going to keep it drama-free zone, guys. And so for skills to be effective, they must be practiced regularly. So I told everybody that to be an effective communicator, you will practice this every single day. And I know that you will get better at it if you think that, that's something that, one of the kids in a workshop that I did in Temple, they told me, oh, well, I can't be an effective communicator. And I said, well, why is that? And they said, well, because I'm shy and I shut down and I don't want to participate in the conversation, and I get that, but, sometimes we have to we need to do things that we've never done before, right? So you need to try to work on that and practice that. And I'm sure that you will get better at it. And then the more we remind ourselves of these skills, the more likely we will use them. And that's everything that I have. And I really appreciate being here today for Central Texas College. And I thank you.
Anne, thank you. Do we have any questions, Lee?
There was one question, but Mara actually answered it.
Okay, what was the question?
Oop, hang on, it was about veteran services. Let me see. And it says you can visit workforce. Oh, wait. Let me go back up and find it. There's a lot of comments about random stuff. I want to go back to school. Is there a point of contact for veterans? So we got an answer from Mara and also a CTC answer. So
Awesome.
we're good.
Well, I have a question, and actually I have a couple of questions. You spoke about communicating through email. Do you have any suggestions for email etiquette? Because I've seen emails that it's like I have no clue what someone is trying to say, or there was no hello or who this is, and I had to go figure out what the email was about. Do you have any suggestions on that?
So, it's funny that you said that because a lot of times you see emails and text, and when we're looking at it, we consider it maybe not even like proper, because the way you see communication via text and email, and especially even emails today, you would think they should be more professional than a text, especially when you're communicating with a company or a college or anything like that. But a lot of times we see everything is so instant and fast that a lot of times they communicate that way. And it's a lot of times not even read again before they send it. So proper etiquette would definitely be, you definitely want the reason for the email, up on the title, what you're sending, RE, Central Texas Virtual Career Day, or something like that. You definitely want to have the title of the person that you're sending it to, so they're looking at that and say, oh, yes, that's me, right? And you should definitely have that body of the email. Definitely hit spell check. I mean, make sure your spelling is accurate. The key thing, guys, is keep it professional. Okay, because you might not know personally, right, the person that you're sending the email to. So you want to make sure that it looks professional, and then you want to make sure that you let that person know. They might not know you, so who you are with your name, thank them, and if you could put your contact information as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've had instances where I've gotten an email, and I used to work with teenagers a lot, but with working with volunteers and stuff, and I would get a random email, I'll do it. And because they deleted everything else in the email, I had no idea what they were going to do. And because their email didn't have their name in it, I didn't even know who I was talking to. So my next question would be, great. who are you and what are you doing? So do you have any suggestions about just deleting everything before that, or should we keep all the email thread going so at least somebody knows what you're talking about?
I would keep the thread going. I mean, I definitely would. But it's really true though. You need to be like specific. So like I said earlier, you might not know the person that you're communicating with, and they might not know you. So you're looking at this email and you're just like, okay. So that's definitely true, and it happens a lot. Maybe sometimes too, it depends on the audience that's sending it, but I see it a lot and look at an email and I'm just like, I'm not quite sure what they're talking about. But I think that just has a lot to do with the day and the age that we're in, and groups, the specific groups that are sending it, and just how fast paced everything is. It's just a lot different, and people sometimes don't take the time to reread it before they send it, or it's in their mind, right, that they think it's okay, but you may not.
Yeah, well, it looks like we have a party here. Almost all of um, Workforce Solutions joined us. We had Charlie Ayers, who is the gentleman who I worked with to set it up. We've got Mara again come to visit us with lots of emojis. I did have one other question. At the very beginning of your PowerPoint, you had a list of conversation styles, and you talked about one of them. Would you be willing to kind of talk a little bit about some of those conversation styles? I thought that was interesting. I think you had one, I'm not sure, the first one, and I'd be interested to see what the different conversation styles are that people, you know, have.
So yes, I went over like the interruptive conversational style, and then we have the polite conversational style, right? So you ever talk to someone and in the first, when so you walk away and you say, wow, they're such a polite person. It's because of that's how they presented that conversation, just very polite. Like, how about even yes ma'am or yes sir. So they were polite in their communication with you. And then you have sarcastic people, right? And that is their conversational style. So when they're talking to you, you think, wow, what's wrong with them, right? But there really isn't anything wrong with them. That is just their particular style of conversation. And I tried to also, with that, relate it to, it could be also your culture, right? Or where you're from, which dictates your particular conversational style, or even with that, how you grew up, right? So it's just based off of what you're used to. Like, so for instance, myself, right? I'm from New Jersey. So in New Jersey, everybody, we could say, a lot of times you have people that go visit the East Coast and they say, wow, these people are kind of rude, right? But they're really not rude. That was their taught conversational style based off of their culture and where they're from. And then, you come to Texas, and what do you see? You mostly see polite conversational style, right? So with me, I feel like I directly relate those particular conversational styles with where we're from, what we were taught, what we know, and it definitely is really, really interesting. So personally, for me, I still struggle with that because coming from New Jersey, that was what I was used to. And then when I came to Texas and I opened my mouth, people will be like, wow, where are you from? First of all, they knew it wasn't from Texas, right? Just because of how I approached that conversation.
Well, do you suggest that as one of the opening things when you meet someone to ask that? Because I also have a similar, being from Louisiana, people of respect, we're always saying, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And I've come across where people, they look and they go, okay, she's like older than me. And she just called me, yes, sir. So what is that about? And then we tend, from where my region, we tend for anyone younger to say sweetie or darling. And that's a cultural thing. But people would be calling HR on me if I went around to my coworkers, darling or sweetie. And so would it help in a when you first meet someone to, I mean, not like blurt out where are you from, but to kind of have that as one of your goals so that you could better understand a conversation style?
So I definitely think actually asking somebody where they're from is really, if you say, it's not what you say, it's kind of how you say it. But I really do believe that that's a good conversational starter, because then that tends to break the ice. And we also are thinking, oh, we know where they're from, so this is what they know. And the whole sir, ma'am, miss thing and all that, that's a little complicated. And the reason why I say that is some people don't take that as respectful. Some people might take that like, you're calling me ma'am, like you need to call me miss, right? Or like, I know that my own children, they'll go through a drive-through and they're teenagers and they laugh and they say, Mom, they just called me ma'am. I'm not a ma'am. So that one is a little bit iffy because sometimes it's not respectful. Some people take it as an insult. I've always had a hard time trying to figure that one out or how to approach it. So I tend to stay away from the yes ma'am and no sir, like, or call, because to me, I feel like if I'm calling somebody sir, I'm saying like you're older than me.
See, yeah, that's they're like, I'm
Yeah.
not that old. So, okay, thank you. Thank you for answering that. Lee, are there any other questions?
No, I don't see any at the moment.
Okay. Mara has put in the chat, that's me. I'm not, we're having a
I think she
communication
was
problem,
talking about
Mara.
a conversational style.
Oh.
Oh yeah, Mara probably was. And also,
We
you
can
guys,
have,
I'm sorry, I didn't touch and I forgot to touch on our reactions, and when I'm talking to you or I've made you upset, perhaps, instead of reacting, right, you need to give your brain time to think and calm down and actually process it so we don't come back to that person angry, okay? And I sort of forgot to touch on that, but it's really, really important. If somebody upsets you, your brain's initial reaction is to sort of say something where we need to sit back, take a deep breath, right, and process. And that way we can come back to it and we're going to have effective communication with each other than the mad person, right? And then it could escalate from there. And we don't want that. So we always want to make sure that when we come back to address it, we've cooled down.
on that note with that, I, I, that's one of my favorite things. My kids always know, okay, just give her 2 days. But
2 days.
yeah, but I've had situations where the receiver or the whatever doesn't want to wait 2 days. How do you deal with a communication situation like that where, you know, I'm going to need the couple of days, but they're ready to be right there? Do you have any suggestions?
So are we talking about in the workplace? So I think in the workplace, number one, we need to, I know it might be a little bit difficult, but we want to make sure that we, we can, however we're communicating in the office, if we're sending an email or, however you need to talk to that person, send the message. And the message could be like, hey, can you come talk to me for a little bit? And number one, and just say it sort of casually and bring that person to you, and you're going to have that face to face. And even if you're upset though, you'll be able to have that conversation nicely, because it is true too when you think about it. I know you need to calm down, but sometimes if we're not addressing the issues right there and then and openly, and so it can be effective and it can be resolved, if some time goes by, right, to work two ways, sometimes it's harder to correct that situation. Yeah, we've cooled down, but the time that went by, sometimes it's going to make that situation not work out quite how we planned because we didn't resolve it as quick as we could. So that is definitely a hard one, but I would suggest that, I know we all need time to cool down, but we can take that deep breath, right? Maybe we don't need a couple of days, and then we can have that face-to-face conversation, and then we can try to resolve the issues and have that effective communication. But we definitely don't want to communicate with that person at that time via email though, or texting, because it could escalate and get worse. Face-to-face is going to help resolve it.
So in the time of pandemic, a lot of us can't do face to face. So do you think it would be wise to just get on the phone and talk directly on the phone as opposed to, that's all we've got right now?
Telephone, definitely, right? And remember, I told everybody too, you need to, if you are on the telephone, smile through the phone, right? That's going to make the message come out happy. But yeah, I would definitely call them. So, right, so if we can't do the face-to-face, definitely give a call on the phone. Because you just don't want to text or email, because the messages sometimes do not come out the way we want them to come out.
Well, any other questions or comments, Lee?
No, I don't see any.
All right. Well, Anne, even though your name comes up at a different person, Anne, I promise you her name is Anne Scotti.
Charlie's probably like, oh no.
No, we're fine. We really truly appreciate you joining us and for today. And Mara, since we see you here too, and Suzanne, who was here on Monday, and Charlie, who was here also briefly with us. You guys are all from the Workforce Solutions of Central Texas, and we put the link in Facebook comments. As you can see, everyone over there is way more qualified to help you if you need any help. They've got great solutions to whatever you may be struggling with job wise, and they're very nice people, so they won't bite, I promise. So make sure that you contact them for questions. We have their contact in the comments. Thank you again for this amazing series. You guys always come with wonderful information. I want to remind everyone that we have a new virtual event coming up next week. We've got we've got the vibrational sound, which is something new and different that we're going to be doing next Tuesday. So make sure you guys tune in for that one as well. Thank you guys. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you for having us.
And Lee, thank you. And you guys all have a great day, okay?
You too. Bye.